What does it mean to be a vulnerable Christian man? Walking through life weak and powerless is not what Jesus had in mind for us. It's time to fight. It's time to get comfortable being uncomfortable. We are Obi, Sean, Brandon, and Shane, and this is
Hello and welcome back to The Uncomfortable Truth. Have you guys ever seen that movie with Sylvester Stallone, Cliffhanger? Like, you remember the poster where he's like hanging on and he's...
That was a great...
Sean did that to us last episode. We left on a cliffhanger. Yeah. We were talking about Hobby Lobby, and you were going to share this amazing story, and I cut you off.
Mm-hmm. There was $77.77.
Yeah,
that's right.
Can you continue that for our listeners and viewers?
For sure. So, a girl that's friends with my 19-year-old, she works at Hobby Lobby in Longview, and the first, so she's checking this lady out, and her total was $77.77. So she was like, "Oh wow, lucky number and this and that," and then the lady, she was like, "Yep, that's God's number. It's your lucky number, and that's awesome." Next in line, lady was like, she kind of heard what was going on. She rung her up, and it was $77.07 on the second one around. Long story short, third number was $77. Third person in line, right? Third person back, $77 even. And then she said, "God is trying to tell me something." Oh no, the third lady was like, "Hey, God must be trying to tell you something. Are you paying attention?" And
the girl working
the checkout, she says she audibly heard fourth person in lines coming up, and she audibly heard God tell her to tell the next lady in line, "Tell her that I love her. Tell her that I love her." And she was like, "Is this really happening? Like, what the heck?" And she said, "Ma'am, I got a crazy question for you. Do you believe in God?" And she said, "Why are you asking me this?" She said, she was like, I don't know what's going on, but God told me to tell you that he loves you." And the girl just freaking drops to her knees and starts bawling on the floor.
Oh, my goodness.
And she runs around and she's like, "Are you okay? Are you okay?" She was like, "I've been asking God for like a sign." And anyway, she was just like totally emotional. So she's writing this story and sharing it on social media last night. And awesome. I was reading the story and I was like, wow, that is crazy. So her comments were just blowing up. And anyway, I thought you can't make something up like that, right?
No.
I mean, it was.
No. I mean, if you look at the odds, what are the odds that they're astronomical?
It's impossible.
It's astronomical.
It's like it's probably hitting the lottery.
Yeah,
would probably be more likely.
Man,
so she
awesome
feels
story.
this like God's trying to work, and she's like, "No, I don't. Are you sure?"
Yeah.
I mean, it's like
she's like, I'm a conduit here for God, and she,
it's interesting. Okay, conduit.
Mm-hmm.
Conduit does not typically move.
No,
it's still.
That's correct. It's what's inside the conduit.
Yep, and it's connecting from one end to the other.
Mm-hmm.
So, kind of parlaying into what we were already talking about, are we looking to be conduits for where God's already working? I think I've lived most of my believing life as thinking it was my job to go out and work for God.
Mm. Well, you mentioned something in the last podcast is like he doesn't need us.
No, I mean,
and we think like no matter how many times we've read it in the Bible or understand it, that works don't get you to heaven. We're men, and like sometimes, a lot of times, we naturally slip back into that. God, what can I? Hey, what can I do for you today?
Yes,
it's. I mean, I got this list of stuff that I think you'd probably be pretty cool with. I'll do these things, and then I'll honor you through them.
It's funny, I mean, first of all, whenever we are filled with the Spirit and we accept Christ and he begins the refinement process in our lives, serving is our desire. You know, it's something that comes with the Spirit entering us. It's something. I mean, we do desire to serve God. The problem is what you're talking about is we almost manipulate those acts of service to maybe things that we want to do or things that fit our mind of how we desire to serve, and that's not how God calls us to serve.
The service should be an overflow of our heart, right?
That's right.
And sometimes we get that backwards. And as easy as that is to say,
yeah,
it's sometimes not as easy to do.
I was reading actually in this book and had no desire, or I wasn't planning to talk about it, but I was reading last night, and it's a book called Spiritual Disciplines of the Bible, and it's strictly spiritual disciplines of the Christian life. And there's, it talks about all the different types of spiritual disciplines that we should practice, if we're Christians. And he had asked this one guy that was in like Africa who was serving missions with his wife in like the remote parts of Africa. And he asked the guy, like, he was all dirty, and this author asked him, he was like, "Do you truly love this?" And he's like, "No." He was like, "Why would I love getting, crawling through a hole that a goat won't even go through, to get into a hut where people, a medicine lady is cursing me and telling me that she's putting spells on me in her own religion to keep me away, and we're persecuted, and we no, I don't love this."
Yeah.
But this is what God has called me to do, and who am I to question the calling for my life? He was like, there are moments where, yes, I do love, what I'm doing here, but he was like, this isn't one of those moments, Yeah. I'm in a moment now where I feel like that, I don't love it, but I think it just goes to show this guy's heart, and that his desire isn't to just go and serve in a way that he wants to serve. He's going to go do what God calls him to do, which I thought that was pretty neat illustration.
That's good.
Yeah, it's good. We don't have to be fulfilled. Doesn't have to be fun.
Right.
And a lot of times they may not coincide.
I think that was exactly the point.
Yeah.
You don't have to be having fun. You might actually be doing some serious hard labor.
Yeah.
In the midst of that's tough.
Yeah.
But you're fulfilling the role that God had put you in that moment.
Most of the time when the greatest impact that we can have on others for Christ and his kingdom is when we give the most of ourselves.
When we are completely selfless, which I believe the Bible talks about dying to the flesh, letting the flesh die. And I'm convinced that for men, I'm only speaking for men, the number one root thing for most is the perception of control. It marinates, works through, permeates through all kinds of other avenues, but I am convinced in all my conversations that the need for control is the place that the devil loves to dwell. Because I cannot be in control and die to my human flesh.
We get stuck there.
Yeah.
We
may go back and forth and give a little bit, but we don't ever complete. But then I go back to the Bible and I read about Moses, and I read about, almost all the characters that we grew up learning about, they struggled with dying to the flesh.
Mm-hmm.
And the minute Adam and Eve ate that piece of fruit, we were no longer promised that wouldn't be the case. So embracing the fact that us four are eternally well ought to also correlate with the fact that we may not ever be well on this earth.
Yeah.
Which is hard to think about.
It is.
Yeah.
Because the selfishness starts coming back up. What are you going to have me do, God, that makes me feel uncomfortable?
Yeah. I don't know if it's like for me, sometimes it's, control and pride will coincide. And like, because of the pride, I think I know better and I do it my way. Like those two things kind of go hand in hand. But being, I don't know, like for me, if it's so much about being uncomfortable, but it's about like maybe doing something that I really don't want to do.
Okay.
Like,
Still
well,
control,
and I
though,
think
right?
That may be uncomfortable.
Is
Yeah.
doing
Yeah, I
something
don't
you
know.
don't want to do.
Maybe.
I think
I don't look at myself, like me personally, I don't look at myself as like not wanting to get outside the box for God and like do random things and like be in his will.
I
Just
can
may
remember,
not fit into my time schedule.
I can
You know,
remember
that,
one time, whenever you said doing something that maybe you don't want to do. I can remember one time, like I'm always trying to look for ways to serve and help, right? I remember one time I just gotten a brand new F-250, brand spanking new, like 2 days old. And the pastor at Emmanuel said something about looking for a truck and trailer and we got to move to New Orleans and do all this and we need help. And I immediately knew that I was supposed to call and give him my brand new truck, and trailer. And I was like, oh no, man, I can't do that.
It's brand new. Like, what if it gets a scratch on it?
Yeah. And I did.
Yeah. Okay. Good.
And anyway, and then he posted, on social media the next day, thank you, Sean Baker, for this this rig, and all this. And I was like, man, that was what I was supposed to do. Thank you, Jesus, for giving me the letting go of this stupid material thing that means nothing. Okay.
Yeah.
It means it's just a thing, right? It's nothing. It's going to go back to ashes one day, So anyway, I was really happy I did that. So that's kind of an example of, hey, I don't want to give up, my material possession that I think is valuable, that is really irrelevant in the big scheme of things.
And like, regardless of how that's viewed, whether you look at that as a little thing or a big thing, it is the little things and the little decisions of following God that add up to the big things.
Yeah.
So that may have been a bigger thing at that time, right? Where now you would be like, yeah, no problem, here, take the truck. And
right.
now it's like, we're on to glorifying him in bigger ways.
That's right.
I think just getting back to kind of the original premise, of our talk, it's like being able to recognize those and being in moments in your walk where you're recognizing them all the time. You're always doing what that pastor encouraged, his congregation to do, and that's you're not going anywhere, not being open to what God's got for you in that moment and in that day. And all four of our issues and things that we struggle with is getting distracted by business, by family, by business, taking the next step, looking to the future. I get so lost in distraction in looking to the future. And it's like, why can't you take it one day at a time, Obi? Like, why can't you slow down enough to cherish this day?
These are the questions that you're asking yourself daily, aren't they?
Yeah. Why can't you slow down enough to cherish this moment? This might be the last moment that you have with your family. You might not wake up tomorrow, but yet you're so focused on what you're going to accomplish or what you're planning to do in the coming days or in the coming weeks or next year, or you're making these plans for 10 years ahead of time.
Yeah.
It's like, what are you doing, man? You're missing everything in
right
this
now.
moment.
Yeah.
And I've been there here lately. It's like, why am I so distracted by tomorrow when I might not even get there?
I know. Oh my gosh. We're going to end right there. Thanks for joining us today. We might talk about that on the next episode of just being distracted and so focused on what's coming up, and we can't even pay attention to what's now and what God has for us now. What does God have for you now? Be where your feet are today. See the people around you. Love on people. Show them. Share the light of Christ that may be the only light they see today. That's your opportunity to be a witness to your people for Jesus. You may be the only one who can do that. Go kick the day in the face, and we'll catch you on the next one.